All right, my friends, welcome back into the Leaning into Leadership podcast. This is episode number 197, and my guest on the show today is William Grube. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I have a super exciting announcement that I cannot wait to share with you. Culture First Classrooms, Leadership, Relationships, and Practices that Transform Schools will be live and available for purchase starting tomorrow, March 17th. Folks, I've got my first copy right here in my hand. For those of you watching the video, I've got the book right here in my hand. Folks, it is absolutely beautiful. I'm so proud of it, and I'm so excited about it. Katie Kinder and I, along with 24 absolutely amazing educators, poured our heart and soul into this book because we truly believe that culture has to come first in our classrooms for us to achieve everything else that we want to achieve. And I can't wait for you to have this book in your hands. I will tell you that down in the show notes, folks, you will find the link to both Barnes & Noble and to Amazon. And the link just might allow you to order the book today. So make sure you get down there, grab a copy of the book, Culture First Classrooms, Leadership, Relationships, and Practices that Transform Schools. Now, let's get on to today's episode. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that has made its way into every corner of our lives, especially in education, and that's artificial intelligence. Look, AI is changing the way we work, the way we learn, the way we lead, and today, my guest is someone who has dedicated himself to helping schools navigate this transition. Joining me is William Grube. He is the founder of Gruvy Education, which is a company that helps and partners with over 100 schools and state-level organizations to provide AI training. He's going to share his journey of how he moved into this AI space. He's going to talk about how AI is reshaping education and why schools should be embracing it. He's going to talk a little bit about some of those big misconceptions about AI and some real practical ways that teachers can utilize AI in their daily work. He also has a little bit of insight for school leaders on how you can leverage AI to help you manage your priorities and to really stay focused on what truly matters. Folks, this is an absolutely awesome episode, so let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it with William Grube. All right, everybody, welcome back into the Leaning into Leadership podcast. Today on the show, we're going to dive into a topic that has made its way literally into every corner of our life. And specifically, we're going to talk about how that has made its way into education. And that is, of course, artificial intelligence or AI. And my guest on the show today has some really interesting takes on it and also has created a business around that to support you in your schools, to support your students, and support your teachers in your schools. So, William Grube, welcome into the Leaning into Leadership podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just do this really quick. Maybe share a little bit of your story that maybe, explains how you have found your way into this AI space and the work that you do to support schools. So as far back as you want to go, just maybe give us a little bit of your background.
Perfect. Awesome. I'll talk about really how it started because, of course, I don't even know this was even really a thing that schools could get service through professional development. So it's like this thing that I've eventually found out and kind of really built a business around. But when I was a sophomore in college is when ChatGPT came out, or a junior in college is when ChatGPT came out. And as I was a computer science student, so right in that computer AI realm, and I just saw how it was going to completely change everything. I mean, I was handwriting code on exams, and then I'd go home and ChatGPT could spit out the same code in a matter of seconds. So I really saw a discrepancy between where we were at with technology and where education was at. And I saw it as a good opportunity and really knew it was very important to get it in front of educators' eyes and making sure that, hey, this is the thing. And all my internship work was actually done at a service co-op that serviced schools with cybersecurity. So that's where I just first got hands-on with schools and technology. Really just got to learn how it worked in schools and also got to learn who to reach out to if you want to do something with their staff. So I did a little quick Google search. Hey, let's find a bunch of superintendents across the states of North Dakota and Minnesota. And I essentially just reached out saying, hey, can I come give a 1-hour presentation to your staff about AI? I am a student at North Dakota State University studying computer science. And I actually ended up giving like 30 of those presentations in like 3 short months. And it was a very crazy time. But from there, schools came back and said, hey, can you actually come teach our schools how to use AI and how they can leverage it? So that from there, I started Gruvy Education, and now we deliver AI training to well over 100 different school districts all across the nation. And what that looks like is us showing up and kind of delivering 4 hours of training, delivering 4 hours training to the whole staff all at once, but they're also getting access to our online training portal where teachers can go in and earn continuing education hours, partner with North Dakota State University. They send out badges as teachers complete the training inside of the training portal and things like that.
I think that's fantastic. I really do. For a dozen different reasons. Partially because as an entrepreneur, seeing that entrepreneurial spirit in you and you seeing, hey, here's a niche that I can definitely, not only fit, but I'm really interested in, and that definitely schools need this type of support. And then the other thing I really love about it, it's making me think a lot about probably the 2 or 3 camps that educators tend to reside in when it comes to AI. The nope, don't want anything to do with it. Yep, I'm all in on it. And then probably the large group is just this like AI curious, like I don't know what it can do. So maybe talk a little bit about what you've seen. I mean, I know, like you said, it kind of started with superintendents, but ultimately, I'm sure a lot of it is working with teachers. What do you see? What do you hear from teachers when they walk into a professional development activity or a webinar with you? What's on most of their minds when they're thinking about AI?
Yeah, and it has kind of been this evolution, because right when ChatGPT came out, the only sole talking point that was talked about in education was, hey, students are going to use this to write all of their papers. So that was kind of right away. That was like you had to bring them from there to really changing their mindset around it. And I think that's kind of why it's been so helpful and so many schools have brought it in, is because really just shifting the educators' perspectives around AI, not fearing it, not pushing it away, but understanding its presence and importance, understanding that, hey, every student will use AI in their career. How can we make sure we're preparing them for a world where they will be using AI in their career? So right off the bat, right when it started, it was a lot of hesitation. But now when I show up to a school, I would say about 25% of the room would call themselves regular AI users. And about 50% of them are in that AI curious group that you mentioned. About 25% of them are like AI push-awayers, as this is not good, and students are never going to learn again. And so it's like this wide range. You really have to meet everybody where they're at, because if you come in and don't explain why you should be using AI and why you should be preparing students for a world where AI tools exist, they're not really going to listen to anything when we do get hands-on, and they're not really going to want to follow along. But once you really take them from, hey, this is why, here's what we can do to capitalize on the positives while we're mitigating the risk, let's do exactly that, let's do X, Y, and Z, and then taking it from there.
So I'm curious. I want to dig in so much more on this, but as somebody who was a building principal, as a superintendent, I know those personalities. I can see faces like that I worked with in each of those camps. I'm curious, what's like the craziest thing that you've heard, just the most like wildly inaccurate about AI that you have heard when you've worked with schools?
Man, that's a really good question. The wildest thing I've heard. Most of the time, like, because I have this smile and I look like I'm 12 years old, usually, like, I rarely get any pushback, because I mean, I'm coming in, I look young. Maybe they're like, you probably might know some more about AI than me. I don't know. So I really haven't heard anything too crazy. But I would just say the biggest misconception that I see around is that, students are just going to never learn again because these tools exist. And then you just kind of take them through like, no, this just probably means we need to change the way we're teaching a little bit to take into account that these tools do exist. So what can we do to make sure we're pushing students to go further than what AI can offer? And what can we do to make sure students know how to use technology in a productive way? So when it comes to like out of this world, like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard, I honestly can't pull on anything, because I really haven't heard all too much. I think everybody knows there's a lot of misconceptions around it, so there might be a little bit tentative to speak up a little bit. And lots of the things people bring up are very valid as well. Like, hey, what's this going to do to critical thinking skills? What about information control when these big organizations get to control what we all see on our screen? Like most of those things that teachers bring up are very valid. And I haven't heard too many things that are like out of the box. And I'm like, oh no, it's time to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Yeah. I can imagine, there's probably some people who are thinking things that maybe they just won't bring it up. But, um, you mentioned a couple of things there, though, that certainly are valid concerns, whether that's information control or, what happens to critical thinking skills. Let's go with the critical thinking piece. When you hear that, and it sounds like you hear that one frequently, what is a typical response, or what do you share with teachers so they aren't just simply thinking, well, okay, I can, kids can use ChatGPT to never think again?
Yeah, I mean, first off, we kind of start off the day showing like the story of a student who, would bring home maybe like a physics problem, throw it into ChatGPT. It's going to take it. It's going to spit out all the steps along with the answer. The student were to do that, even for having them do it on a piece of paper, they can blindly stare at the screen and write down all of the steps along with the answer without necessarily thinking at all before the pen hits the paper. So we do bring this up, and hey, if students over rely on AI, diminished critical thinking skills, diminished problem solving skills can absolutely happen. So they don't have to think, how do I start this problem? Where do I go from here? So when we talk about what we can do about that, we really talk about terminating this arms race that happens between education and anti-cheating technology, and instead making it more impossible to cheat by the way we're giving out the assignments, the way we're delivering the course, to make sure we're pushing students to go further than what AI can offer. And what that looks like is, hey, we can have more local environment-based questions that make students interact with their surroundings, because that's something that technology cannot just do for them. Or more in-class activities, more projects. And those are actually the first things that we do when we hop onto the AI tools, is we do these things we create things that push students to go further than what AI can offer, to really show them that, like, hey, we have this opportunity where we can use AI to bring education into the 21st century. So it's kind of like the story we're telling, hey, this can happen, but we don't want this to happen. And AI is not going away. We go over how fast it's getting better. It's only going to keep getting better. It's a race between countries who has the best AI tool. So how can we make sure we're preparing students for a world where that is going to continue? It's kind of the way we go about it. And it's very, very well received. And I think it's just very eye-opening once you take a look at the numbers. How many students are using it? How fast is AI getting better? It's very eye-opening. It's like, oh, we do need to do something about this.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. In what I do, I work with a lot of school administrators, and we talk frequently about different ways that as a school leader that we can utilize AI. I'm kind of curious. I'd love to hear your take from the leadership perspective. So what are some tools that you're sharing with school leaders in terms of, hey, as a school leader, here's some ways that you could utilize AI. Then I want to come back to the classroom and talk about ways that teachers can utilize it.
Yeah. School leaders, I would say they are very proactive, and they love AI. And once they figure out how much time it'll save them, they're like, let's go. So they're like a very, very fun group to work with, because they're like, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? But with the leadership trainings that we do, we typically hit on 4 topics. We hit on communication, of course, things like handling difficult parent emails and things of that nature. Of course, general email efficiency, whatever it may be. Maybe you need to send a letter out to the community for whatever. So there's that. And then we dive into things like human capital. So maybe helping with drafting improvement plans, or how to get wording for a difficult conversation that we need to have with a staff member. Okay, we need to get this improvement plan, but now we have to have this conversation with the teacher that we have to present the improvement plan to. So that sort of stuff. And then we get into, when I'm working with superintendents, we do a lot of business services type things. We do behavior things with principals, whether it's a behavior plan, intervention strategies, a whole cast of different things. And then the biggest thing that they love is the data analysis aspect of it. They have all of this data, and in these spreadsheets, and it's just been locked in these spreadsheets, and now it's never been easier to just take that data and make more data-driven decisions for your school, and also just turn that data into actionable plans. Okay, based off of this, what can I do to improve this? So that they find that aspect very, very helpful. But then also things just like inside of ChatGPT, creating something like a custom GPT that's trained off of their school policy that will give Like if a superintendent made that, they can give it to their principals, and the principals can go to it. Hey, this situation happened based off of policy, list out the steps that I need to take, and it'll break it down for them. So things like that. And that was actually, I was at the AASA AI Super Summit in Tampa last month, and that was actually a standalone breakout session, not even really a breakout session. They ran it every single breakout session time, if that makes sense. Like you could go to the breakout sessions, or you could go and create this custom chatbot that really like lowers the amount of communication you have to respond to, because instead of everybody coming to you for the answers, you can kind of take that knowledge, okay, put it in this chatbot. You can go ask that chatbot for the answer, and it's going to give it to you probably even more clear in less the time, instantly. So school leaders love it because there's just endless use cases to it, and they are operating a school and they just see, oh, it can go there, it can go here, it can go here, and just really helps them so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's incredible what we're able to do utilizing that ChatGPT tool. I mean, I use it constantly. I think it's an unbelievable time saver in so many different ways. So what are some tools or some methods that you suggest for teachers to utilize AI in their classrooms?
Yeah, I think there's the two biggest things that I see that like have a profoundly positive impact would be, one, when it comes to creating standards aligned content. Of course, it's never been easier because whatever we're making with ChatGPT, okay, make this thing or make this thing and then align it to this specific state standard. Make this, align it to this state standard. Make this, align it to this state standard. So it's just so easy to create standards aligned content. So I see them really picking up on that and like, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. And then the other thing would just be modifying assignments for diverse learners. Like you can get modified assignments in a split second. Hey, this is a 7th grade math assignment or 7th grade English assignment. I need it at a 5th grade reading level for a student with dyslexia. Or maybe we have a gifted student. I need to, make this assignment a little bit harder for this student. So just being able to meet students where they are at so much more effective, like quickly. Like if you knew you had to modify an assignment, teacher probably take a step back and maybe take a deep breath and think, okay, this is the next hour of my life is breaking down this assignment to something that's a little bit simpler. But now they can just get that first template draft done in a split second, and then they can just go and tweak little things that they know would need to be tweaked and then give it to that student. Just such a big time saver in the diversification of assignments.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing tool. It really, truly is. So I'm curious. So maybe stepping away from AI for just a minute. So what I heard you say early on, you were a computer science major, not an education major, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So just listening to you talk, you have learned a tremendous amount about education. Just talk to me a little bit about like what you have learned about what is happening inside of education and just all the ins and outs that I mean, a lot of people would be very surprised that somebody without an education background understands education as well as you do.
Yeah, I think the biggest, most surprising things to me were what, like from a high level, like for the superintendents, like I didn't really, as a kid, you don't realize that they are really just operating a business. It's kind of like the CEO of a business. They have to make everything, like you don't really think about that. Like that's something that I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a fun, cool job. You're really just kind of running a business in a way, and I mean, a little different structure, but there's that. But then it's just, the teachers struggled day to day. You don't notice it until like you're helping them, and then it's like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And it's like, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of variables to their job that it's just a really tough job. Like it truly is, especially like, I mean, student behavior might be down a little bit. And one of the questions that they answer on our feedback form is, what's your number one pain point in education right now? So that's been super helpful. And like the biggest things are student motivation. And I know I wasn't the best student in high school, so so I was probably part of that problem. And it's just seeing like, they truly want these students to learn, and then the student just lacks motivation and they just don't want to do it. So that sort of stuff, it's like, oh, like this is a really tough job. You show up every day and like really give it your all and really want to make sure that you're setting the students up for success. But sometimes students aren't motivated, or there's just behavior issues in the class that make the classroom really hard to run because we have to take care of this issue. So there's like little things like that you don't necessarily notice. It's a very tough career to go into.
Yeah, no, that it definitely is, and in many ways it just gets more and more complicated and more challenging. But certainly having somebody out there who's working to not only stay ahead of, but also to bring methods and techniques to classroom teachers, to building leaders, to superintendents around how you can utilize AI, I think is just absolutely fantastic. So, talk a little bit more. Let's maybe go up a little bit higher level here. Talk about just the launch of Gruvy Education, and maybe you've talked about it kind of throughout the show, but maybe talk a little bit more specifically about what it is that you guys do at Gruvy Education, so that some of our listeners, I guarantee there are school leaders, district leaders who are listening to this going, "Wow, I have got to get in touch with William." So talk about what Gruvy Education really is.
Yeah, it really is just this it is professional development. Like we train your staff for 4 hours, but like we take them from, that wide range of teachers using AI a lot to teachers never using AI, to the teachers that don't feel tech savvy enough to use AI, to the teachers again who use it a lot. Just this wide range, and we take everybody and really move them from here, and we take everybody and move them into the next step. So it's a 4-hour training at a school. We show up, the first module, there's 4 different modules, one for each hour. The first module is really shifting everybody's perspectives. It's more almost like a keynote, really gets everybody fired up, excited to learn how to use AI, but also just knowing like, hey, it's here. This is how we capitalize on the positives, and this is how we mitigate the risks. And that's how the training is set up. And then in module 2, in the second hour of the training, that's where we're really focused on learning how to use ChatGPT and giving them the 20% of the information that's going to get them 80% of the results. But in the process of doing that, the first things that we're creating with ChatGPT are terminating the arms race that happens to education anti-cheating technology. So we create things that students can't just cheat on with AI, and really push students to go further. And if they were to use AI, they'd be using it as a learning tool and not as a complete crutch. So that's module 2, is really learning how to use ChatGPT, but we're really telling the story of making sure we're preparing students. And then in modules 3 and 4, that's where we really get to dive into the other educator-specific AI tools like Magic School, like Eduate AI, and really also learning how to use it with students through Magic Students, through School AI. So then we're just diving into those platforms and really just taking the teachers and giving them the tools and the skills, and also just the confidence to use the AI tools, because some of the teachers don't feel like, they hear AI and they're like, that's just for the techie folks, not for me. They don't realize,
Right.
hey, if you can search on Google, you can also use ChatGPT. It might seem scary at first, but you'll send one prompt through and you'll be like, okay, this is incredibly easy, and this is something that I can easily do every single day. So, and I mean, the average teacher that goes through the training saves about 3.5 hours every single week on preparation, content creation, and administrative tasks. We also focus on how to use AI responsibly with students, and just through surveying the educators a month after they complete our training, they see about a 25% boost in student engagement when they use AI in the classroom. And we're seeing about a 28% boost in meeting the needs of diverse learners after going through the training as well. So it's really, hey, let's make sure we're bringing AI into the school in a way that's helpful for everybody, for the teachers, for the students' future, etc.
Yeah. No, I think it's fantastic. I really do. And again, I'm grateful to know that there's somebody out there that is doing that work, so that teachers don't just feel helpless or feel lost, or can maybe move past that that mindset of, oh, the kids are just cheating with it, when there's just so much more to artificial intelligence. And oh my gosh, there's just so many incredible things you can do with ChatGPT. I'm really glad that we had a chance to talk about the administrator side too.
Yeah.
My brain is spinning around other things that I can do with all of the different school leaders that I support to help them to really lead into that too. So I think that's fantastic. Man, I'll tell you what, our time has just absolutely flown by. So William, I want to ask you the same question that I ask everybody here on Leaning Into Leadership as kind of our final question of the day. You've shared a lot about the work that you're doing, but I'm curious what else maybe you would say you're doing to lean into leadership right now.
Yeah, I think my huge focus is really helping more and more people in the AI realm because it goes deeper than, just education. Like I'm immersed in AI stuff, so I sometimes I might think like everybody's paying attention to it, but they're really not. And there's never been a better time to just get more time back to your life and do more stuff that you want to do instead of that busy work that we all have to do throughout our day. And I really just want to help people get back time to their own lives and do more stuff that they want to do and, automate their own lives and things of that nature. It's never been easier to go from idea to implementation much, much faster. The ability to be creative, AI does not diminish that. It just allows more people to be creative if they know how to leverage it in the right ways. For example, like a teacher, they have an idea for an in-class activity. Before AI, they probably take a step back. That's going to take way too long to create all the materials for. But now they can just get it all out and then go and deliver that in-class activity like they wanted to. So it just like gives everybody in education and outside of education a way to be more creative, to have more time back to their lives, to create stuff that they like, to do more stuff that they like. And I really just want to continue to spread that message and help more people be able to do those things.
Well, I think it's fantastic. I really do, and certainly appreciate not just what you're doing with Gruvy Education, but also your mindset around this and about being able to really just support as many people as possible. People are definitely going to want to contact you, whether that's just to pick your brain or because they're like, hey, I want to talk to you about Gruvy Education and getting you to my school. How do they go about getting in touch with you?
Yes, if you go to our website, gruvyeducation.com, GRUVY.com, there's contact forms on every page at the bottom. You'll see contact me button. Additionally, you can email me at william.gruvy@gruvyeducation.com, GRUVY education. Yeah.
Nice. Outstanding. We'll make sure all of that stuff is down in the show notes for you folks. Make sure that you get in contact with William and the folks there at Gruvy Education. William Grube, thank you so much for joining me here on the Leading Into Leadership podcast.
Thank you.
All right, my friends, that was such an outstanding conversation, and I genuinely appreciate William joining me here on the show. I mean, holy cow. Since this episode was recorded, William shared with me the how to build your own GPT. As a school leader, holy moly, I've started to play around with that a little bit, and just being able to utilize that tool to shorten some of the steps that you have to take to help you navigate your way through some of the different things that you see can just be absolutely phenomenal. Check out everything down there in the show notes with William Grube. Some awesome stuff happening at Gruvy Education. And now it's time for a pep talk. Today's pep talk is going to be short and sweet. I just simply want to say thank you. I just simply want to share the amount of gratitude, love, joy, and pride that I have for my co-author, Katie Kinder, for the 24 remarkable educators who contributed to the new book, Culture First Classrooms, and to my entire team at Road to Awesome. I will tell you that getting this book in my hands earlier this week was just really something special. It's pretty amazing. This is not the first book I've written. This is book 4 actually for me. But man, I think this might be the book I'm the most proud of, and I wouldn't be as proud of this book as I am without Katie and the 24 contributors to this book. So I just simply want to say thank you. I just simply want to share how much each and every one of them mean to me and how important I think the work that every single one of them put into this book, how that is going to impact schools, how that's going to impact kids. I had a conversation earlier today with a principal in South Carolina who was one of the people who pre-read the book. And she told me she thinks it's one of the best education books that she's ever read. And I truly appreciate her words. I appreciate the kindness from her. But it's not about me. It's about the 24 contributors. It's Katie Kinder. It's the Road to Awesome team. It's everybody who came together to put Culture First classrooms into the world. So again, folks, there are links down in the show notes. Go get your copy ordered right now. If you want an autographed copy of the book, I will tell you that you can go to our website, roadtoawesome.net, and I will have a link there for you to go and grab a copy of the book. We'll get it autographed for you and get it sent your way. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Leaning Into Leadership podcast. Get out there, folks, and have a Road to Awesome week.